The first phase, the first thing you want to do is you want to read sentences about hypertext history. Now, what this is a densely linked text about hypertext history. Read this. Make sure you understand this. And then I want you to pick out a couple articles. If you want to do precedence to hypertext, you want to look up Vannevar Bush, you don't just have to pick out things that you know. In fact, I love it if at least one of the things that you pick out is something that you actually know very little about. You go and you research it and start with Wikipedia. That's absolutely fine. And you write something really simple. And by simple, I mean, here's an example of something I wrote. There's this connections between specializations, and I just say that, today and perhaps in the past as well, specialization helps us with some things, but it really hurts the flow of ideas across specializations. And then I have a link here. It reminds me of this book I read last summer called Reinventing Discovery, which is just an amazing book. If you haven't read it, it reminds me of some of Steven Johnson's work. So I'm going to put a link here to Reinventing Discovery, and maybe I'll come back and I'll put a link to some of Steven Johnson's ideas. And so what you see is, even though this is a very basic page, we're starting to push out into other directions. We're starting to move from this simple description of a problem to some treatments of the problem, to some other resources, to some other writers. Grab a page. If you got to do a little research, and then maybe find a way to link out to some additional ideas. So that's the first part. And the reason why I say load all of these in the bottom first is, as you go through here, what you want to know is if other people have written any of this stuff yet. Because if other people have, maybe you want to look at their page, and maybe you want to improve on their page rather than writing your own page from scratch. Maybe you want to write your own page from scratch too. I'm not telling you how to live your life. So HyperCard, this is a good example. People already wrote something on HyperCard. So that's something that we know because we've loaded in all these people into our sites. So as we're browsing, we see, actually HyperCard is pretty well covered. Whereas Neptune, nobody has written on. Docuverse, nobody has written on. So that's the first part. Write a couple articles, and honestly, this is not going to take you, even if you know nothing about the subject, this is not going to take you more than 30, 40 minutes to write 2 articles. I mean, I think with this crowd at least. You go somewhere, you read some stuff, you write up a summary, and you think of 1 or 2 connections that you would like to, you think of 1 or 2 connections off of that you'd like to explore. So 40 minutes, we're up to 40 minutes of effort now.